That is right, mobile gamers. Today we are going to swap out these A, B, X, and Y buttons on our Anbernic RG557. The reason why is because I like these buttons to be the Xbox style. So the A at the bottom, B at the right, and X and Y at the top, so that I understand how to play this thing. I wish these companies would actually set these up this way. However, not everybody likes it that way, so maybe they just do it the way they want. And yeah, that is basically why I'm doing this, is just to show you guys how you can do this. Or if you buy secure retro modding buttons, you could probably swap them out. Now, the very first thing I like to do, make sure that you don't have a micro SD card inside of your device, because you definitely want to remove that just in case. I heard somebody recently, they accidentally broke theirs. I've broken one of mine before in the past because I didn't pay attention, unfortunately. And that really sucks, especially if you have a lot of data on it. Now, the other thing is, turn off your device, obviously, before you open it up. And we're probably going to take off these thumbstick caps to do the next step, which is going to be flipping our device around, and we're going to use this padding that the device came with. And the reason why is because the padding is going to help raise it up off of the joysticks, so the joysticks aren't being pressed into the actual blue mat that you see here. All of my tools that I'm going to be using here today, guys, is going to be in the link in the description below. If you don't know where the link in the description is, then that is basically going to be where the ... more button is, and then there is a whole bunch of stuff in there. The tools that I'm going to be using is just a Solyware. This is just like a, I don't know, off-brand, rechargeable, battery-operated screwdriver kit. I've been using this for quite a while now. And the bit that we're going to be using is the hex bit that is actually going to tell you right here which model it is. It is H1.5, okay, so the hex 1.5, and it's the longer one so that we can get into like these spots right here. And I've taken apart the RG556, so I'm hoping that this is kind of the same. The other thing I like to use is plastic spudger tools. Now, a plastic spudger tool like this is really good and it's really strong. However, sometimes you can find plastic spudger tools like this one, but it's metal. Like, I don't highly recommend you to use metal on plastic, only because you end up scratching it. And there we go. Now it went back in my drawer. I don't know what was going on there. So let's start off with taking note of where all these screws are. So we're going to just start off with all of the top screws. Make sure you press the right button if you're using an electric screwdriver, or just twist it the right way, lefty loosey, righty tighty. If you know what that means, then great. I'm sure you do if you're following this guide. Now again, this is just a guide. Do this at your own risk. Do this at your own discretion. This is just me showing you how I do things. If you have your own ways of doing things, then great. Do it your way, or whatever you want to do. Welcome to another episode of Modding Mondays, where I share simple mods like this. Simple, you know, swapping out buttons. It's basically a modification, right? Or mods like changing out shells and screens and all that kind of stuff to be better. I have a video that I've been planning for a while that is for a Game Boy Advance, because Game Boy Advances are pretty easy to mod, especially nowadays with the drop-in displays and stuff, and you could probably do it too. Game Boy Advance is probably like the easiest one to mod if you want to do any modifications. Now I'm going to drop all the screws, make sure they come out. Now it seems like a couple of them didn't want to pop out of there, like these ones over here. They seem like they're still kind of all the way down there. You can kind of try to keep twisting until it comes out. If it doesn't come out, try to remagnetize your screw bit by using your magnetizer. This comes inside of this kit. This kit has a whole bunch of different bits. Yes, I'm going to use an affiliate link in the description of the video that you can help support the channel. Every time that you buy something with my affiliate links, it does help to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. I don't know if it costs Amazon anything extra. Well, it does, because they pay me. So that is all up to your discretion if you want to use my affiliate links or not. And there we go. Make sure you don't make that fly off the table or lose it, because yeah, that screw did not want to come out. Next thing I'm going to do is basically take note of where I want to try to basically pry this from. So I'm going to start off at the top, And as you can see here, it did push out pretty easily. And this device is probably like one of the easier devices I've noticed. Let's just slide this along very nicely. And that's why I like to use plastic, because as you saw, I could have scratched my device if I used metal. And then go along this edge. Now, I didn't get those other screws out, but hopefully they pop out when I start doing this, because they're pretty much in there. I don't know why they're so far stuck in there, but let's pop that open and see if we can get this pried off, and do the same thing on the other side. And basically just take your time if you've never done anything like this before. However, like I said, I wanted to do this because I don't like the Nintendo Switch style. And there we go. That's about it. That's really all you have in the back of this. Now, I'm guessing these are the vibrator motor. Oh no, these are the speakers. So these are speakers. There's little contacts. I think they changed the design of this a little bit. Now, this device turned on, so take note of that, just in case your device turns on while you're doing stuff like this. And power it back off, okay? Now, yes, I did have to take this off of the actual front panel, but there we go. So we are going to be working on the left side. So there is a big back plate in here, and we're probably going to use a Phillips screwdriver head. I like to start off with like the smallest one. So this is like a PH00 bit. And these pads, they have numbering on them so that you can keep track of where your screws are. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a bigger project because we are going to be getting into the left-hand side. Now, let's double check this. That one was way too small. I'm going to use a PH0 bit because I don't want to strip that screw. And yeah, take note of that. This is a PH, let me see, PH00 bit, okay? 00, if you're using the same toolkit, just make sure that the screw feels like it's actually not going to strip it like that one almost did. Could have been a bad situation. Now that one's top right hand side. We got top middle for number 2. Number 2. If you ever watched Austin Powers, you probably know what that means. Austin Powers, yeah, that's my history in itself. Now number 3, we are going to be putting this middle one underneath the fan. And you could follow this as well if you wanted to. Now all these screws kind of look the same. I try to keep the focus on the camera as well for you guys, so you can basically follow along. And number 4. So let me see if all these screws, yeah, they are all the same. So you could technically just keep them all off into one spot. It does look like there's another one over here that's kind of an off screw. It's got like a metal top on it. And let's take that off and put it at number 5. Okay, number 5 was this one. Now we're going to try to pry this up as long as we don't see any more screws holding it down. Doesn't look like it, and there we go. Okay, and there is some of our thermal tape right there. It's probably for this piece of the board right there. And now we're going to look at what else we need to do. So I think we need to get this trigger off, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start off with these screws right here. And this does look a little bit different, so I'm going to put these trigger ones over on this side. And what I was saying is it looks a little bit different than... this trigger has a magnet on it too, by the way, so that screw just got magnetized. And make sure you keep note of that because you don't want to lose it. And there's that screw right there. Yeah, some of these jobs, they kind of, you know, give people anxiety when you do stuff like this. It's really not that hard. This isn't as bad as taking apart a phone. I've taken apart a lot of phones in my time, and phones are worse than these. Now, there's more screws holding this down. So this motherboard is being held down by more screws. You'll just have to take note of where they are, and that's what I'm here for today. And of course, obviously paying attention to like any ribbon cables and stuff like that as well. Now, it looks like this is the battery tab. So I'm going to make sure this is turned off again. And yep, pressing the battery didn't turn it back on, which is good. So I'm going to actually get rid of this battery and turn it off. So I'm going to take these 2 screws out, put them over here so that I know it's for the battery, and pop this up because this is just a little metal plate. It's going to go right here. Make sure you keep it like the way that your plate is going to be going back down onto the board, and then just pop this off if you need to. There we go. That's the battery. Now the battery is fully disconnected, okay? Now, again, we got to take note of where all the screws are. Even this fan, basically this heat pipe right here, and everything else. So I'm going to look at seeing where any other screws are. So there's a screw down here, bottom left-hand side. And the thing about recording, too, is that you could, you know, take note of where these screws are. And I'm going to put this at number 6, bottom left-hand side, bottom right-hand side, which is a black one, is going to go at number 7. And then you can re-watch your video or just watch my video and use the same numbering system. And then kind of go backwards, right? Top right-hand side is going to be number 8. And just make sure you don't drop your screws in random spots. So number 8 is top right-hand side. And then try to see if you can lift the board. If you can't lift the board, there's still more screws that are holding it down. And I'm thinking that these screws right here are holding it down. So this is going to be number 29, and yeah, I'm going to change the numbers a little bit. This is for the heat pipe, the outside left screws for the heat pipe, which are right here and right here. 29 and 37, so that I know that's the top one, that's the bottom one. And let's see, anything? Still nothing. 2 more screws right here. Yeah, lots of screws, and we're going to put those at 30 and 38 so that we know that that's for the heat pipe as well. And see if we can pull that heat pipe up, because yes, you should be able to. Now this magnetized, there we go. So 38 is going to be the bottom one. Whoops. Make sure you put them back in the right spots again after. Get this one right here. There we go. And put it at number 30, okay? So that's for this. And I'm going to use my spudger and take note of the tape that's up here. Like I said, I've pulled apart the RG556 once, and that was because I changed out all the joysticks. And be careful of the thermal paste that's inside. You might want to clean that up and everything and put new thermal paste in there, which I probably am going to do. And now that we're kind of in here, we should be able to see if there's any more screws that are holding this down. Now it looks like this is going to block us as well. So I'm going to unscrew this as well, which is the headphone jack. If you want to subscribe and keep following the channel with some modding Mondays, I'm going to put these 2 screws down here for the headphone jack. I know you can't see that on camera, but that's just basically at the bottom right hand corner. Then yeah, hit that subscribe button, because I'm trying to do more modding Mondays so that I can get some of my stuff that I've been wanting to mod for a while done. And I will be sharing more about the DNA Duo very soon. So this, is there another screw underneath this ribbon cable? That'd be kind of tedious and annoying, but let's see if there is. And there is. Wow, of course there is. So you don't have to unscrew that. You could probably just lift this board now. There's no more screws, which not seeing any, but I'm also wondering if the problem lies with these cables right here. So these 2 cables right here, which are the Wi-Fi antenna and the US or the Bluetooth, we can wrap them around. Shouldn't have to take them out. And there we go, okay? Now, I might take those out actually. So the top one is the black one, so let's remember that. Use your plastic spudger and nicely prop that up, otherwise you might lose your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth. You don't want that. Use the pointy end. You can use your fingers too and just lift until it pops off. Usually these pop off easily. There we go. Okay. And now another cable right here. That's the thing, like I've never taken this apart, right? So I don't know what cables I'm looking for. I don't know where there's cables. There's a cable right there too. And there's this cable right here, which I think this cable is interfering as well. So get yourself a plastic set of tweezers. And nicely wiggle it back and forth, because that's your fan. Maybe use your finger. And there we go. That's out now. And all of this just to change the buttons. Yeah. Let's take these cables out. And there we go. There's those buttons right there. Now, even this cable is getting in the way too. So we're going to have to pull that one out. And now we can actually fold this over. Okay. Now be careful how you fold this over and how you let it sit, because you don't want to rip those ribbon cables that are right here. So make sure it's nicely seated in there. Now let's peel out the membranes, and let's grab our tweezers and change these. So basically, because I looked at the inside of the other device, and we should be able to just swap these around easily. Like I said, I know this looks a little bit scary. It's really not. And there's the X, okay? So the X, we could flip it around, and it goes in there just like that. Same with the Y. The Y just goes right up there in the fat spot, and now the Y is at the top. Now the X, I had to like rotate it because it was different, but it was fine. You didn't have to really do anything to like trim off any plastic or anything like that. Now needle nose pliers are good, or tweezers are good for this. These ones right here. These come with the actual screwdriver kit as well. So I'm going to take this one out. Put that one up there. That one there. And then, since we're doing this all in one go, watch for your cables. Make sure you don't bend anything or rip anything. Make sure you line this cable up inside this little slot right here. There's like a little slot right there, and you want to slot that in there. Probably get that cable right like that, and then get this cable put in. Now I'm going to turn this a little bit so that I can actually grab this head and lift the board at the same time. Slide it in. Take note of how tedious this little thing and this little push tab is. There we go. Okay, that's in there now, and that cable is wrapped around this little slot like it's supposed to be. Just take your time with it. If you start getting frustrated, just chill out for a minute, okay? That's how I take my time with things too. You don't want to get frustrated and then end up wrecking anything. Some people do that. They get frustrated and they wreck stuff. Now, one thing I forgot to do, which good thing I was paying attention, is put that rubber membrane back in. And yeah, you can just lift this up to put it back in there. I know you can't see that, but it only goes one way. Like, you can turn it whatever ways you want. And also make sure that your joystick, so the joystick's going to get fed through. Just kind of pull it until it gets fed through there. And make sure you keep an eye on all your cables and stuff, that they are out of the way. And then just hold this and make sure it's in there, okay? Now, I'm going to line this up on the mat. And I'm going to put this ribbon cable back in. And it should just slide right in there. And make sure it's all the way flush So make sure it's flush to that white, and then push that tab over nicely with your actual plastic spudger. And I'm going to put these screws back in. Okay, so I remember the black one was at the top and the gray one was at the bottom. So I'm going to slot that in first, put the gray one in first. Just line it up until you can feel that it's going to press onto that little connector piece there. And then the same thing, we're going to push that cable into that slot. There's a little slot in here. You'll see it when you're actually doing this. And there's a slot right there too. Wrap that around. And don't force this. If you don't feel like it's going to go on, don't force it. Turn this one out of the way a little bit. I know it's a little bit blurry. Sorry about that. My autofocus on this phone is, I think, starting to go. There we go. Yeah, try to line that up as best as you can until it actually feels like it pushes in. I know you didn't see that on the camera, but it was kind of like not lining up properly. You might have to like hold it up to your face like I just did, so you can actually see what's going on underneath there. And then yeah, line these cables up. Make sure that they're in here great. There we go. Okay. Now we're gonna start putting all the screws back in after, but the first thing I like to do, I'm gonna put some more new thermal paste on this. So spray some rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip. Clean off the old stuff. And then make sure you take note of where the old stuff was and clean it off of this as well. Okay, and now I have some thermal paste, and what I'm going to do is just basically put like a little pea size of thermal paste on all of those boards. And this was just bought from Best Buy. So a little bit there. And there we go. Okay. Now we're going to put that back together. So we're going to grab this and try to shove this inside of the plastic up here first and then seat it down. And now we're going to grab these screws in order. Now, highly recommended to pay attention to that tape, because that tape actually helps with making sure that the fan blows out the top. And yeah, you're gonna deal with lifting this up again for a second. Okay, I'm going to pull that all the way out, and then I'm going to peel this tape back a little bit. And just peel it off and then put it back on after, unless you have new tape. Okay, there we go. And then put that screw in, the very top one. And now go back and watch your video about how to put all the other screws back in. Make sure you put this fan back in too. And everything else. And that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I watched my video, and yeah, I still had screws here. So number 6 was right here. Number 7 was right here. Number 8 was right here. I just didn't remember where those 3 screws were exactly on the board and everything. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is actually plug this back in. Now, when you're plugging the battery back in, make sure that you feel it. What I mean by this is you'll feel underneath your finger if it's lining up properly, and you'll see that it's got little teeth and groove. So make sure that you line that up nicely, and it actually feels like it's going to sit in the middle of the actual connector. This part is not really, you know, the funnest part in the world, because you got to make sure that it's actually lined up properly, and then you'll get it. You'll feel it. You'll just, you know, you'll feel it with your finger. You can actually feel if it's lined up into the actual groove. And this is like a typical battery connector. And there we go. Now that was pressed right in there. You'll feel like it just pops. You'll feel like a, I don't know. The other cool thing is they actually give you like pull tabs and stuff for your battery. So if you ever have to change your battery out or whatever for any reason, then that pull tab is there, which is great. Now, not a lot of companies actually put that in there for you to make it easy to pull them out. Now, the next thing we're going to do, put those 2 screws in. Make sure you don't do what I just did by over tightening it, because then you end up with a twist like that. There we go. And then the back plate. The back plate's very important, obviously. Now you're going to want to seat it with that pull tab underneath and basically go like this. Make sure you keep an eye on those wires down on the bottom right hand side. Now I remember this one was just over here, which was number 5. And the rest were just kind of all over different spots. And these are all the same screws. We figured that out. But I will put them back in the same spots. Okay, and now we have the A, B, X, and Y buttons in the right spots. Well, right spots for me. Let's turn it on. Felt the vibrate. There's the Anbernic logo. And hopefully that new thermal paste, which is a pretty good brand of thermal paste, I use it for my PC, helps with the heat too, because the device doesn't get too hot, but I've noticed that the fan probably kicks on as more than it should. And I got some thermal paste on the actual white, unfortunately, but you can clean that off and do whatever you want. Now, there we go. A, B, X, and Y buttons. We can make sure that everything works properly. Now, I have this set up, I think, for Xbox mode. So you can use like the handheld settings app, and that's the gamepad tester, A, B, X, and Y. Everything's working the way it's supposed to, and we're on our merry way to swapping out our A, B, X, and Y buttons. All you have to do is put those screws back in and have a good time. See you later, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and join the channel if you want to see some more Modding Monday stuff like this. I'm keeping this apart because I'm checking something out. I want to try something else with this thing.